And welcome to Madden Benz Unfiltered, brought to you by Rush to Crush. It's more than a ride, it's a mission. Join us May 19th. It's coming up. Sign up now. The Rush to Crush Cancer bike ride. To register, go to rushtocrushcancer.org and help us in the fight against cancer. Join the ride. Tim Benz, Mark Madden with you. Mark, you can hear him Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 on 105.9 The X. You can read us both at Trib Live. I'll warn people in advance. I'm dealing with a cold. I caught some sort of bug over covering the draft this weekend, so if my voice cracks or gives out in the middle of this thing, I apologize in advance. Mark, what you think of the draft? How did the Steelers do in your opinion?
Well, Tim, Jesus.
Whoa,
earthquake.
Earthquake.
Yeah, I'm dealing with hatred for my profession, so I'm no better off than you. Plus, my lighting in the kitchen here makes me look like Harvey Dent, Two-Face from Batman. It's a good draft. One thing I'm writing in my column for the Trib that people ignore, the other teams drafted too. The Steelers didn't draft in a vacuum. Yeah, they got a center and a tackle. Other teams got a lot of stuff. So I'm not sure the Steelers jumped out in front of the pack due to this draft. But I think now they have a real good offensive line if they bypass, the rookie hazing, as it were, and not playing Fotanu and Frazier right away. But I think they have to, don't you? I mean, I don't see how they avoid that, because if you play Dan Moore, to give Fotanu time to figure it out, then you got to keep Jones at right tackle. And I think the plan is to move Jones left and Fotanu installed at right tackle, correct?
That's what I would think they would do. And yes, I do think that's a factor, because if you go the route that they did last year with Jones, with the eventual plan to move Jones to left, all you're doing is delaying him getting used to being on the left side. There's no reason then to go the entire offseason with him learning the left and having him play the right to start the year until you get to whenever your bye week is, and you feel like it's worthy.
That's right. You got to go with Fotanu on the right and Jones on the left from day one. And anyway, with the 35-year-old quarterback, whether or not you can win now, I don't know. I don't think so. But you're trying to win now. You're not going to go slow play anything with a 35-year-old quarterback. At least you shouldn't. But who knows how they think, seriously.
Well, to your point, Mark, about other teams are getting good too. Other teams improved too in the draft, and we never kind of take that into our analysis. We just look at it in the vacuum of what the Steelers did to get better. Well,
right.
The Ravens drafted the other tackle from Washington who protected Penix's blind side, and the Bengals drafted the tackle that a lot of people thought the Steelers wanted a couple picks before them in Mims. So, both of them got better. Not only did they get better too, but they got better at the same position. So we do have to.
But the Bengals can slow play with that guy.
Yeah, because he's more of a high.
He only had the 8 starts at Bama. So, but the point is, I think the Steelers did get better. But as I keep saying, and I'm the exception to the rule, because most people are just saying, yay, Steelers, and predicting 11, 12 wins. I think they're still a 9 or 10 win team. I think the only way to significantly improve is to get a better quarterback, and they didn't.
Right, and there were some people.
Well, they got a better quarterback than Pickett. I mean, a better quarterback than what they have even now.
Well, that's why Florio threw that thing out there about the Steelers maybe being the surprise team to take Michael Penix. Now, he wasn't talking about the first round. He was talking about the second round, I believe. But that would have been stupid. That didn't help anything for this year.
Not as stupid as Atlanta doing it, Tim.
Oh, my God. That was hilarious. That was the highlight of the draft. And then the pretzel logic to twist themselves into justifying it. There's no way to justify it, because even in the best case scenario that they advanced, then you spent a first-round draft choice on somebody who's not going to play for 4 years. That's not how it works.
Well, I bet he plays before 4 years. I bet Kirk Cousins does indeed. I mean, he can't get double-crossed out of his $100 million guaranteed, but I don't think he's going to start the length of his contract. In fact, I'd be surprised if Kirk Cousins starts for Atlanta beyond this season.
All right, so Steelers fans want to hear from you on what you think the Steelers did in the draft. How well do they do? Do they get the right guys? Do they pick them in the right order? Are they going to put them in the right places? Do you have faith that they'll play these guys properly? Mark, do you think that – I just saw this little blurb out there, and it wasn't going to affect them anyway because the kid went at pick number 50 to Washington, but the safety from Michigan, Saint Strill, or however you say his name, he was picked one pick before the Steelers got Frazier. And the Steelers did nothing to help themselves at defensive back. They waited to the third pick to get wide receiver. Did they leave themselves too thin there in the name of bolstering the center position, or is that what they should have done when they did it?
No, that's what they should have done, because they got, even if they are a little weak at defensive back, that's not how the league is. Okay, I mean, you need defensive backs, but they need to score more points. That was their number one priority, and in theory, Frazier and Fatanu will enable them to do that. Although, and I would bring back Cam Sutton, by the way. Absolutely. What's a misdemeanor between friends? The NFL teams in the Steelers, who brought back convicted dogfighter Michael Vick a number of years ago, I would think that every NFL team has long since passed the point of moralizing, and that includes the Steelers.
Yeah, in fact, I wouldn't be shocked at all if he does come back and play for Pittsburgh, and they need all the help they can get there.
Who's your starting defensive backfield at that point? It's Sutton and Porter on the corners, Minka, and I guess Casey?
Well, no, you're forgetting about Jackson, the new guy. I think that what they would do is they would have Jackson be opposite of Porter and then play Sutton in the slot if they brought him back.
All right, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's not bad, actually.
Sutton's specialty is said to be the slot, correct?
Yeah, and the other thing
that's
about
we always played here, correct?
The other thing about that is if they find out Jackson can't play, they think he can play. They've always thought he could play. I don't think Carolina thought that. I think they were going to cut him if they didn't parlay him off in that trade for Johnson. But, they can flip-flop it. They could put Cam Sutton outside and put Jackson inside if that needs to be the case. Although I don't think...
Yeah, they can figure it out in corner if they bring Cam Sutton back. And what about safety? Minka and Casey?
Minka and Casey, yeah.
Adequate.
Yeah, I think what Casey stays
if Minka ever gets involved in a turnover again.
Yeah, well, you know what might help him is the third-round pick. They can have now Minka patrol the deep third of the field, and if they play nickel a little bit more often with this NC State linebacker, if he can stay healthy, he can play the middle third, and they can let Minka sort of roam around or intercept balls in the back third of the defense.
That's possible. I'm counting on nothing from those drafted except the first two. And I think that's wise to proceed that way with any draft, any year, any team.
I think they might have to rely on the wide receiver from Michigan. He's going to have to play and get some balls thrown his way.
Well, he's the new Hines Ward, Tim. I know that because I read it everywhere.
Did you also read that Zach Frazier is really good at woodworking? I saw that one quite a bit as well.
Not surprising. That's all they do in West Virginia, Tim, is whittle.
Well, his cell phone kept crapping out during the media interview, and he couldn't get through the call with Tomlin. I just hope with his signing bonus, he builds his town a second cell tower. That's all I'm hoping.
He's from West Virginia, and he has a cell phone?
I know. His uncle does. I mean, maybe he used his uncle's at his uncle's house. I don't know about him.
I picture him climbing the telephone pole like they had to in Green Acres.
Mike, I'm coming. Thanks for drafting me.
No, I remember that real vividly. Sam Drucker climbing the telephone pole to use the phone.
All right, so Steelers fans want to hear from you on what you thought about the Steelers draft and where they go from here. One other note I will throw out, Mark, and that's about the fourth-round pick, the kid from South Dakota State. I wasn't wild about that. I thought that's where they should have gone to get more immediate help with the defensive back. I guess the long-term thinking is if they were to cut Nate Herbig to free up money to make a trade for a wide receiver.
And they might.
Yeah, or even if you're thinking they're going to get rid of both Herbig and Daniels, you want to have a guy that's more ready to go. That could be this guy.
You're rid of Daniels when? Not this year.
No, not this year because they're both free agents next year. I'm saying even if they keep them this year, they're both free agents next year. I understand that mentality. I just would have used that pick on the defensive back there so they could get somebody who could play this year.
It's funny, though, Tim, because people are giving the con artist credit because they like to yell, the con artist. To me, this was an Andy Weidl draft. They're using the Philadelphia model of concentrating on the lines.
Yeah, and the other thing about him is, everybody likes to throw around how aggressive he is. He's not afraid to do this. He's not afraid to do that. I think where he deserves credit is for not being too aggressive, for not trading up to get guys when they're on the board, and they eventually came to him anyway. They waited on Fautanu. They also waited on Frazier when they were in need there. And other guys that they liked were going off the board in front of them. So I give them credit for that.
They could have easily drafted Barton with the 20 pick and then got a lesser tackle with the Frazier pick.
Yeah, exactly.
But Barton was there when they picked Fautanu, right?
Yeah, because Barton went at 26 to the Buccaneers.
Right. No, I think they played it just right. By the way, I did some research, Tim. Mel Kiper this year had a decent year by the standards he set. 7 of the first-round picks correct.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere. Somebody was talking about how good of a job he did on his mock draft. It was just one last year, right?
The problem with those mock drafts is, and they're just such a useless exercise, much like assigning letter grades to the draft before none of the players have played it down.
Well, here's how useless it is, Mark. I saw one already for next year, and they've got the Steelers drafting 12th and taking a tackle from Texas. Yeah, because they're going to take a tackle for a 3rd straight year. Yes, that's exactly.
They might. Well, you know what, though, Tim? Think about it. I mean, I hate those drafts, okay, let alone a year out. But maybe if Fatan is not quite what they think he should be a tackle,
they move him.
You move him to guard in place of Daniels leaving. So maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I think it was a decent draft. I think it, like I said, had Waddle's fingerprints all over it. I just don't think they're a team that's going to win more than 9 or 10 games, though. I look at the increasing toughness of the schedule. I look at Tomlin always losing games he shouldn't, like last year to New England and Arizona. And I look at the quarterback matchups. They play more better quarterbacks this year, as I recall, Tim. So I think 9 or 10 wins. I mean, even that might be tough.
Yeah, and strangely now, I'm wondering if the 49ers are more positioned to move one of those wide receivers more so than Denver is. You're hearing rumblings out of Denver that because they got Nix, they want to keep Sutton, so Nix is somebody to throw to. And the Niners went out and drafted 2 wide receivers. At least one early, in the first round, the Pearsall kid, who I thought the Steelers liked.
Yeah, I don't know if the Steelers make a move, I think it would be for Cortland Sutton level guy.
Yeah, who's not quite as expensive and high profile.
I'd be scared to bring a Ayuk into Pittsburgh or even a Debo, because I'm not sure how that operate in this system with this quarterback as opposed to what they had to work with in San Fran.
Well, that's actually a decent point. I should have written this today because I was kind of like doing, under the surface level storylines for each pick. The one thing about the receiver Wilson, even if he is overexposed, Arthur Smith played with 3 wide receivers less than any coach in football last year in Atlanta. Like, they played fewer 3 wide receiver sets than anybody. So if they have one left, they still need 3. You should still have 3 good ones to function in the National Football League. They should still go out and get another one. But maybe that issue won't be quite as heightened because of the way they're thinking philosophically.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
All right, take some time if you want, but we'll get to them eventually. Throw some reactions up there from the Steelers draft. What you think they did? Did you like the picks and when they took them? Mark, let's get to the Penguins. What'd you think of the moves they made in changing out their minor league staff?
Why is the light changing as I do the show? I'm even getting more two-faced as we go.
Well, I was wondering, it looks like it's more cloudy where you are than where I am, and we live about 5 minutes apart from each other. So I'm wondering what's coming my way.
They're changing the aluminum siding on all the buildings in my plan as per the Great Aluminum Siding War of 2024. So we have ladders, cranes, all that stuff. I don't see that as anything significant. Dubas just wants his own guys in there. Why wouldn't you?
For development especially, I see it. And like even the tone of how they set that press release out, it was almost like apologetic for firing them, because you could almost read through the lines, Mark, of them saying, hey, you did what you could with what you had, but now that we're trying to get stuff, we want our guys to do it. Like, that's the way it read to me.
Yeah. I don't think they should have to apologize for that at all.
Do you think Blomqvist is coming up next year to start?
See, I don't. It would depend on how many games I think they would give him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he would only play like 20 games, I would rather keep him in Wilkes and have him, handle a starter's workload.
I just would love to see Sullivan go through that internal war, that perpetual push and pull he's going to have with himself over, God, do I stick with Jari, or God, do I stick with the rookie? I think both things would kill him.
Let me tell you, I really think the clock's ticking on Sully, because I think the clock's ticking on Sheldon Keefe in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dubas would bring in Sheldon Keefe sooner, not later, were he available. I think the conundrum might be if he's available sooner.
What they should do is get Casey DeSmith and make sure he's hurt again if they get to the playoffs.
How about that guy?
How about Vancouver? They've had 3 goalies already in the first round, and they're up 3-1.
I got a question. I got to question Casey Smith's heart. I mean, I don't know what his injury is, but twice in his career, the guy in front of him got hurt. He's had a chance to play in the playoffs, and he's not been able to both times.
And how about that Besser performance?
And if I'm Vancouver, I under no circumstances bring him back next year.
No, I don't think they will. I don't think they will. They're going with this Latvian kid now who got the win yesterday.
The basic premise of being a backup goalie is to be available when needed, and he's not.
JT Miller set up Besser's 3 goals, including the hat trick goal.
He's the greatest. And Trocheck scored last night, too. Big day for Pittsburgh.
And where did he score from, Mark? The bumper position on the power play, which is what everybody says he does so well.
If the Penguins had Vince Trocheck instead of Evgeny Malkin the last 2 seasons, they would have made the playoffs both seasons.
There's
no doubt about that.
Is there a little fundamental truth to what Dubas was talking about? Was it not just, trying to shine the apple on the way out the door, talking about what Bunting could be in that bumper position in the power play formation next year?
I think Bunting can be better than anybody they have in the bumper position.
Mm-hmm.
Before him, they didn't even really have a bumper position.
Right. Yeah, they never really utilized that. Everybody else is making it in vogue, and they've usually got nothing to do with it.
I mean, Brian Ross tried, but he looked like a cat playing with a mouse.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit more of a inherent playmaker, and I think Russ
more skilled is the word you're looking for, Tim. More skilled.
Yeah, I think Russ.
Although to be fair, Bunting's not necessarily more skilled than Russ, but that's a position you have to know how to play.
Yeah.
Like Trocheck knows how to play it.
A little bit of a knack there, and he seems to have it. What do you think of the rest of the playoffs, Mark? Especially the Rangers eliminating the Caps as quickly as they did.
Anobi, no points in the 4 games. And
did he have no points at all? I know he didn't have any goals. He didn't have
nothing.
Wow.
Just hit a wall. He's old.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sid hit that wall for 11 straight games without a goal. It happens sometimes.
That was also a little emotional too, due to the Gensel thing, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I definitely think it was.
You know what I can't wait for? I'm just hoping Toronto loses out like they lose in 5. Because, boy, the spit will hit the spam up there, and it will be glorious.
Yeah, now they don't have Dubas to get mad at and throw rocks at. Now it's got to be somebody else's fault. Who'd you say they're blaming it on? Marner now, right? It's
Marner, who's one of their own.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But Nylander gave Marner a hard time on the bench. You saw that, right?
Yeah, I did see that, yeah.
Quit bleeping crying. It's not bleeping junior hockey. Then again, Billy, where were you the first 3 games? You didn't even play.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep. All right, so Mark, let's get to baseball now. And the Pirates below 500. What was your tragic number for the Pirates that you said? 3 games below 500,
I said if
right?
the Pirates are ever 3 games under 500 this year, they will not be above 500 for the rest of the season.
And that's not necessarily an analytic study. That's not a forecast thing. That's just your general opinion. They get that low, they're never coming back, even if Skeens gets called up.
No, I just say it because I think it'll piss people off. But I also think it's true.
And Jared Jones, that was the first time we've really seen him struggle. He could not get himself out of that.
I don't know if he struggled, Tim. I mean, 3 runs in 6 innings is not terrible.
I'm talking about the one inning. The one inning, he got himself on a hamster wheel.
He wasn't as brilliant as he had been for an inning.
Yeah, he couldn't get himself off of he gave up 2 home runs and was getting hit, and they were jumping on him early.
I got to jump ahead to a comment here while we're thinking about it. Will Dubas sign Keith if he gets let go by the Leafs and put him at Wilkes?
Not a terrible idea because
I don't know if Keith would do that, but he might.
That's kind of how Sullivan got the job.
Coach in waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That sticks it to Sully.
Yeah, I actually.
But maybe Sully needs it to be stuck. Maybe he needs that.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of like that conspiracy theory. I could absolutely see that happening. And I don't think Keith is of the caliber, Mark, where he can't handle something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, no, the Leafs were his first job.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes, exactly. All right. So Ron says the Tampa Bay Lightning window is closed. We haven't talked about them. Yeah, they didn't have much, and Florida's got a lot.
Yeah, bad matchup for Tampa. Although I didn't think so before it started, but watching it play out on the ice, it didn't go so good. And yeah, I think Tampa's window's shut. But they'll do what the Penguins did. They will just kind of drag out having the same guys to sell some tickets.
Frank says,
make no mistake, what the Penguins are doing now is just as much selling tickets as it is faith in those guys.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, the inability to move them.
Yeah, there's a lean into it, sort of steering into the skid and just wrapping our arms around the nostalgia and subtly brainwashing people into how much that really matters. Because,
right.
You could always do nostalgia. They could always come back. You can always wave at them from afar. They don't have to get 25 minutes of ice time again.
Here's another one. Get up this one by Alex, Tim, about the Gensel grieving period.
Is that down at the bottom here? Was the Gensel grieving period actually made up by Dubas?
No, it was not.
No.
Absolutely was not made up.
If it was made up by Dubas, then it was made up by Lars Eller, because he was the one that really advanced the conversation more than anybody. And he's
Well, but see, that's this guy, Alex. I mean, he's trying to take the heat off the dressing room. The dressing room deserves all the heat. I mean, that's where the season was lost. Right there, where the players basically did a strike, a boo-hoo session over their buddy leaving and went 1-7. That, more than anything, except for the power play, is where the season was lost.
Frank says, so after all the dust settled from their draft, FanDuel has Pittsburgh last in the division and 17th to win the Super Bowl. Well, like what I just told you, that silly 364 days ahead mock draft thing had them drafting 12th overall. So, yeah, I mean, the over-under totals for the Steelers are always going to be around 8 or 9, and you should probably go over because they'll finish over 500, but you should always bet under a half when it comes to playoff victories because they've done that 7 years in a row.
Can you do that?
You can bet on them to not win a playoff game, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm sure the odds would be minus. Like, you probably have to
lay out now.
I don't know if you could do it now, but like sometime in August, you usually can.
I also want to point out Tim Frank that just did that was a regular at the Pittsburgh Steak Company.
Yeah. And
is now part of the ex-Steak Company gang that occasionally goes to Ala Familia.
Now, what happens to the ex-Pittsburgh Steak Company? Is Ala Familia where you do the college basketball tournament and the fantasy football draft? Isn't that where they did their thing?
No, we just go to Ala Familia. I haven't gone to those other things for a couple of years, the drafts and stuff. They do those at various places. Pretty soon, the whole Pittsburgh Steak Company gang will be dead anyway. Me too.
Eric says, Dan Moore needs to start. He works so hard. Yeah, I'm a little worried about that. I'm more than a little worried about that.
I'm not counting on him starting.
No, I'm not. Absolutely not. Especially when they're, they can work the angle.
I do think this, though, Tim. I do think if he starts, the entirety of the fan base will defecate all over it.
Everything will be his fault. Yeah. You remember
when no. They will blame him playing, but they will blame Tomlin for playing him. I think Coach T better understand that this is a big year for him. Coach T.
Because he's out of BS?
I think if they miss the playoffs again, I think there's going to be a groundswell to get rid of them. I mean, not miss the playoffs, don't win a playoff game. Mm-hmm. If they don't win a playoff game again, I think most fans will want to get rid of them. I really do.
So much else has changed, Mark. They've changed the quarterback a couple times. They've changed the GM. They've changed the coordinator. They changed the coordinators. Austin replaced Butler too. Let's not forget that. Everything else has changed. And the only thing that hasn't changed is their lack of playoff wins in that time. So it's down to him. He's the one thing that hasn't changed yet.
Did Rossi tweet that the Gensel grieving period was fabricated? That's what Alex is. He couldn't be more incorrect. Could not possibly be more incorrect if he did.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a little rub with Rob and his interpretation of what the GM is saying, or he's trying to deflect blame or something like that. But like I said, the locker room itself admitted it. Eller was the one who used the phrase, we were too down for too long. And when I followed up and said the Gensel thing, he goes, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how much more direct it is, and I don't know how fabricated it is when the players are saying it, just like the general managers.
Well, I would have to see where Rob said that. I can't believe he would say that because he was there every day.
Ron said...
By the way, Tim, one thing I want to comment on about Tomlin. I really am down with Tomlin. I think he's a bad guy. I think he's a fraudulent coach. And the reason I'm really down on him is him gloating now about lying to the media, about playing with the media. Tim, no offense, but you guys should not go to that weekly dispensation of horse manure. I mean, if he's going to lie, why would you take anything he said seriously?
To write the opposite. That's kind of where I've gone with it now. As soon as he says something, I just assume like when he so defiantly said that Faltanu is going to be a tackle, first thing that went through my mind is, geez, I wonder if he's going to play guard.
He's absolutely a fraud. If you take away the first 4 years of his resume, he has an awful resume. And certainly he did great then. Maybe he did it with somebody else's team. Or maybe I'm lying to confuse the media.
Alex added one thing about the Steelers, by the way. He said the defense stinks without TJ, and they have never had TJ when it counts. Does Queen actually fix that or not? No, he doesn't fix TJ. I think he could help fix the middle of the defense, and he could allow them to play nickel or dime more.
Well, Watts played in the playoff games.
Yeah, he was actually pretty good in the Kansas City game.
Yeah, but they still let up 1 million points, and he's out there too.
Yeah, it's sort of like, the star players in the power play with the Penguins, that sort of thing.
Right, exactly right.
RJ says, Mark, is Ovi done? Saw nothing from him. Will he go on next year?
Oh, he's staying to break the record, however long that takes.
Yeah, I think he'll play until he's 45 to do that if he has to.
Yeah, if he has to do that 15 goals. But he had 31 goals this year. I don't think he's done. I think he just hit a wall.
He had one real hot stretch this year. What was that? Like early March, where he really turned it on. Bill says, with the Penguins letting go of the Wilkes-Barre staff, will Dubas sign Keefe and put him out? That was the one that you read already. Never mind. Let's go to Richard next. The wide receiver.
That's what I would do. That's a great idea.
Richard says the wide receiver position may become a major problem even if they go out and bring in a legitimate one or two, simply because of how long it will take before Pickens loses his mind.
That's right. I can't wait.
Like that. And what if they don't do it though? What if he gets hurt? And like Roman Wilson is now the alpha of the
I think George Pickens, through getting hurt or being George Pickens, could blow up all the good work they've done this offseason.
Sam says the Steelers now have the players to go on a deep playoff run. Should Tomlin be on the hot seat if there's not significant improvement in 2024?
A deep playoff run.
For them, a deep playoff run is a first-round upset. That qualifies as a deep playoff run, and I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think they're going to win a playoff game. I mean, they added a center and a tackle, Tim. I mean, they're good players, and I don't know. I don't know.
Jason,
this is the overrating of the draft.
Jason says, is it within the realm of possibility that Sid would take a significant discount on the next contract in order to help the team? I think he'll figure out a way to make it $8.7 million if it kills him.
No, I think he should. I don't think he will do that. I don't think he should. I think he's going to get over $10 million.
You said you think it's only going to be a 2-year extension, so this year plus 2 more, right?
Yes, I do think that. I can't find Rossi. I'm looking, Jim. Excuse me, not looking. I can't see Rossi saying that was a fabrication. So whatever.
He might have put it. Maybe he might have put it in his. Didn't he do like a notes blog at the end of the season or something like that for the Athletic?
I don't know. It put it this way. Regardless of who said what, it's absolutely not a fabrication.
Most importantly, Mark, before we go here, anticipation of Motley Crue in Atlantic City, and what do you think of the new song? I heard some of the new song as I was walking out of our building. They play it on the speakers. Like they flipped over from your show to DVE at 6 o'clock as I was walking out when I filled in for you the other day, but I didn't get to hear all of it, the new Motley Crue tune.
It's good. Like I said in a podcast, it reminds me of the Saints of Los Angeles album. The production, kind of the sound. I mean, one thing about Motley is Styx writes basically all the songs, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a continuity through the songs, but I give Styx credit because even though there is that continuity, the songs don't all sound the same either. But there is a kind of certain, I don't know how to describe it. It's like with UFO, when Michael Schenker was there on guitar, he literally wrote all the songs. Well, no, Pete wrote a few but Michael wrote like 80% of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he left, the song sounded different. Not bad, but different, basically because the way he played and the way he wrote. So the point is, Dogs of War is a typical Motley song, and I mean that in a very good way.
So wait, is he when it comes to Motley Crue right now? So who recorded on that for guitar? Mitch is not on that, right? Is it John Five?
John Five.
John Five did? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And he's
touring. Five's real good.
Okay, so he's touring with them. He's recording with them. He's doing it all with them now.
He's a member of the band now.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
I mean, the thing with Mick ended acrimoniously, and I felt bad about that. But considering the personalities in that band, I'm amazed it took that long. And I always been a believer that Motley is those 4 guys. But I like Five. He adds an element on stage because Mick just stood in one place. Then again, that was kind of cool too. With his death mask and stuff like that. So, But no, it's still real. Motley's real good. I mean, I saw the first 2 shows Five played with Motley, also in Atlantic City when he joined the band. And I've seen how many since then? Pittsburgh and Columbus. So it's real good. And one thing about Motley's stage show is they're what do you call it? Like the big screen stuff and what they play and the lighting is just fantastic.
All right, so Mark is going there Thursday and Friday. I'll be in for Mark on Friday. Make sure you're listening to Monday through Wednesday. You can check us both out in the Trib.
Who's in Thursday?
I think Tom's in Thursday. I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not in
you
Thursday.
better have that covered because I will not be there.
Yeah, so we'll figure it out. Or it's just music and they'll play the Motley Crue song in a loop for 3 hours.
That'll be all right. Let's just say this guy says, "Oh no, Mark's drinking the Kool-Aid." What Kool-Aid am I drinking, douchebag?
I think he thinks you're literally drinking Kool-Aid.
Oh, well, it was cranberry juice, but yeah. Okay, honest mistake.
They should have drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry then. All right, we'll be back next week.
That guy's name isn't really Kool-Aid, is it?
So for forever, I thought it actually was, and then I found out it's like Kadari or something like that. I prefer Kool-Aid to whatever it was. Kool-Aid is better.
His real name's probably Diet Pepsi.
Rush to Crush Cancer. It's more than a bike ride. It's a mission. Join us May 19th for the Rush to Crush Cancer bike ride. To register, go to rushtocrushcancer.org and help us in the fight against cancer.